The Chicago Cubs hit a little speed bump, a major speed bump, as they left their hearts in their bats at San Francisco. They'll continue their road trip at Colorado. Can they regain their winning ways? We'll give you our predictions coming up. The Southside Hitmen, i.e., the Chicago White Sox, were dominated last night by the New York Yankees, while the Kansas City Royals did what they did as always, beating them 2 out of 3. Week 1 in college football is upon us. The final line will open up their season tonight. How many points will they win by? And will Bill Belichick win in his debut coming up this weekend? We'll give you our predictions. And we'll preview the NFC West and the Arizona Cardinals. And it's the return of our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika. That and a whole lot more. It's a Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports, the last one for the month of August. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. I'm Sidney Brown. You better know it is me. You can follow your Shuli on the Twitter, X, in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at War Media Podcast. Excuse me, that's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio show, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. The camera will get the up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to build and boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Entertainment Game that's checking us out right now on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages at 12:19 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget, much love to the replay game. Checking us out on the replay at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto, whether we talk sports, music, or entertainment, we will always provide.
We value you some of the best around Second City Sports. Of course, we got our girl Christine Mack from KRXB joining us to talk sports media news. There was a lot this weekend. There was a big trade that went down in the NFL. And unfortunately, it affects the NFC North, so we'll talk about that. Also, our new friend Nick King from CBS 3, which is just outside of Phoenix. He'll preview the Arizona Cardinals, NFC West, and the sports scene down in Arizona. Also, week 1 of college football, as we got some of the big matchups coming up as well. But first, Sid, got a lot to do with this last show for the month of August. But first, let's talk some Cubs. As the Cubs do something for the first time they had not done all season long, that is get swept. They got swept by the Giants, and unfortunately, not a good time to get swept by the Giants. It's never a good time to get swept, but getting swept by the Giants, where you could have gained some ground, it looks like the Brewers are starting to fall off a little bit. They couldn't gain any ground. They think they're basically right back to where they were. They're 6 games back now, talk about the Cubs. And now they go to Colorado. I know Colorado's been playing a little bit better lately, kind of, sort of. I know they lost, I think, 2 out of 3 to Houston, but it's just like you can't. It's basically a must-sweep win. I don't want to say this is like this is a must-sweep series for them, but it kind of is, because if they don't at least sweep it, because, of course, the Brewers, they play Toronto this weekend. But Sid, what do you think?
You only score 8 runs. I'm talking about the Cubs for the entire series. Yes, the Giants are a class better than the LA Angels of Anaheim, who you swept around this time last weekend. But you score a total of 8 runs in that series. That is inexcusable. And as I was before my wife, I cut off in my last episode. Remember, I told you some of the supporting cast members will have to step up, like Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, and Nico Horner. Nico Horner had a home run yesterday. So did Dansby Swanson. Ian Happ, where were you, buddy? Where were you? Matt Shaw, I know people want to talk about his bat, but his bat's been hot in the second half with 9 home runs, and his glove has been excellent. But some of the other guys that need to step up, Seiya Suzuki, I think it's time to give him a break. Maybe not so much this week as if you're facing Colorado, but it's time to give him a break. And what happened to Owen Casey, LaKeena? He was one of the difference makers around this time last week in that 5-gamer against Milwaukee. Why was he sitting on the bench? Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know. But he was sitting on the bench for the most part in that San Francisco series.
Yeah, he wasn't kind of MIA in that series. But also on the bright side, though, it looks like Kyle Tucker's back on track. He had a couple home runs during that Giants series. But unfortunately, Matt Chapman, who I wanted the Cubs to get, unfortunately killed them with a couple of home runs and about like 5 RBIs during that series. So unfortunately, look, you got to put that series in the rearview mirror if you're the Cubs. Look, I know the Rockies, like I said, they lost 2 out of 3 to Houston, but at the same time, though, you can't really take them lightly either. You're playing at Coors Field. There's no reason why guys like your PCAs, your Ian Happs, your Dansby Swansons, your Kyle Tuckers shouldn't be hit the ball, knock the balls off, so to speak, over there at Coors. There should be no reason why they shouldn't score at least 5 or 6 runs during that entire series and such. So, and also Daniel Valencia, I know he had a rough, last couple of outings. So during that series, so unfortunately that kind of killed the Cubs as well, especially losing that game yesterday. Now, as far as your starting pitching for the Cubs against the Rockies, you got Cade Horton hoping to get back on track against Marquez. Yerman Marquez coming up tonight. You got Javier Assad against McCade Brown, I think that's how you say his name, and also Matthew Boyd against Tanner Gordon. That might be one of the tougher matchups of the 3, but even still, there's no reason why the Cubs should not. It's basically sweep. I don't want to say it's sweep or bust, but it kind of is because you want to try to gain a couple of games against Milwaukee. So you just gotta buckle down and try to win that series.
You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago's Second City Sports, the Friday Fun edition, right here on the program. Sid the Kid and LaKeena here with you, talking Cubs baseball. We'll get to the White Sox in just a moment. LaKeena, Shota Imanaga, he kind of settled in yesterday, taking a look at his numbers of this damn computer, where it was straightened up. He pitched okay after giving up another first inning home run. He pitched 7 strong innings, giving up 2 home runs in total, 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. The problem, LaKeena, I don't want to be nitpicky, but we get into the end of August, we're going into September, and this is where things are supposed to be tightened up. You're supposed to get on a roll and cure your bad habits and get ready for the postseason. I still believe the Cubs will make the postseason. It just won't be via the division round, but needless to say, Shota Imanaga's problems through the first 3 innings have, especially in that first inning, has been a problem all year long. Do you have faith that it's going to get at least straightened out before the playoffs? Because you know as well as I do, for those of you listening and watching out there as well, runs come at a premium during the playoffs, and we saw this in his last couple of starts before yesterday, that the runs that he gave up, especially the way the offense has supported him, or lack of support at times this year, those turns to be the runs, those home runs that he gives up early in the game. It turns out to be the difference makers in the ball games. You cannot afford that, especially in a short series or even long series in the playoffs.
Yeah, you got to tighten up. And I think if you heard his comments yesterday, he did say that he definitely has to tighten up and such. So, yeah, because you probably could say the Cubs probably should have won that game, perhaps maybe salvage a game out there in the Bay Area. But I think he knows that you gotta, especially you're going into the weeds here those last few weeks of the season. And you kind of have to look. You're going to get your best out of a lot of these teams. I know the Giants they're probably basically out of any playoff talk, but you gotta treat every team the same. So you gotta prep and do all that. So you just gotta get it buckled down here, and I think he knows that. So hopefully this is just a hiccup, and he'll get back on track in the rest of the starts.
Yeah, hopefully those problems, especially in the first 3 innings, will get straightened up between now and the end of the regular season. All right, let's go down to the south side. The Chicago White Sox lose the first game of the 4-game weekend series to the New York Yankees 10-4 after losing 2-3 to the Kansas City Royals early this week, being dominated in every phase of the game. Last night, LaKeena, Miguel Vargas hits a grand slam off of Will Warren in the second inning. He gets injured a couple of innings later, had to exit the game due to his left wrist. Davis Martin, let's be honest, LaKeena, he didn't have it last night. Neither did the White Sox bullpen. To be honest with you, as we talked about all year long, LaKeena, for the New York Yankees first, when Eric Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are both healthy, they do damage. But it was Cody Bellinger that kicked off the party last night with the 2-run home run.
Yeah, that was then it was Chaz Chisholm, then it was Trent Grisham. They kind of let the charge there, especially after the Sox tied it thanks to Vargas. You feel bad for Vargas. That was his first career grand slam, and unfortunately he hurts his wrist. So hitting it. So unfortunately, hopefully, he won't be gone for an extended period of time. But yeah, good on them for at least trying to make it a game. So it looks like the Yankees are starting to get back on track, I feel like. So this might actually be a thing. Like I said, do I think they can come back against Toronto, win the AL East? Maybe, maybe not. But I think they can definitely make it interesting these last few weeks. Now, as far as the White Sox are concerned, look, Colson Montgomery on the bright side. I mean, he hit a couple more home runs during that series against the Royals. Didn't hit one last night, but you got to think you might have a star out there at G-Rate over at 35th and Shield. So not a bad thing if you're a White Sox fan. Now, we'll see what happens in the rest of the series against the Yankees tonight.
Yeah, mentioned Colson Montgomery. He did not play last night. He is dealing with an oblique injury. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious. Luis Robert Jr. injured again. And this time, it's his left hamstring. Looks like his year is done because we only have 5 weeks, going out to 4 weeks left in the season. So I don't expect him to return. I mentioned about Miguel Vargas last night. Hopefully, that's nothing too serious. It looks like it may be day-to-day, but we'll find out later today. But injuries are starting to hit this team again. But for the White Sox, you just got to be consistent and find out who's going to be on your team next year. Kyle Teal, I like the way he's playing. He had 2 hits last night. Lenyn Sosa, he's making a case to be on this team next year. He had a hit last night, but he committed another error. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, I don't think there's enough masking tape on this planet Earth to fill up his glove to cure it between now and the start of next season. So the White Sox are in a tough spot as far as Lenyn Sosa is concerned. So the White Sox still got to continue to find players who's going to be on this team next year. And we'll ask this question again. It seems like 100 more times. Will Chris Getz pick up that and the White Sox pick up that $20 million option on Luis Robert Jr. next year? And will they try to trade him again before next year?
All right, your rest of your starters for the rest of the weekend series. You got Gomez versus former White Sox Carlos Rodon. Then you got Shane Smith against Cam Schittler for them. And also it will be Perez against Luis Gil. So I think they will. I think the Sox will win one game in that Yankee series. I don't think they're going to get swept all 4 games. They may. I don't know, but I think they'll win one. So yeah, one. I'll give them one. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. The rest, but I think they will. They may win that Shane Smith start tomorrow. We'll see.
Oh, stop stealing my predictions. I'm going to be there tomorrow to watch Mr. Shane Smith. I think that's the one they'll get tomorrow. I know he's been pitching well his last 2 or 3 starts. I know they got some run support for him over those last couple of starts. So hopefully that continues tomorrow. And of course, you mentioned about Martin Perez. He'll go on Sunday. He's been pitching well following Shane Smith's success ever since his return from the IL. So the Yankees, the Sox could get 2 games, but I'm with you. I think they'll get one. They'll get one.
All right. So we'll see what happens. There now. The West is baseball real quick. Kyle Schwarber had 4 home runs after the Phillies just pummel the Braves 19-4. And do you think he's a favorite for NL MVP?
It's him and Pete Alonso, nobody else.
All right. We'll wait to do the schedule after our guests. But yeah, we're gonna talk to our buddy CBS 3's Nick King. We'll talk some Arizona Cardinals football and the rest of the NFC West, and also the busy sports scene down there in Arizona. The Suns, what the heck they're going to be doing this season coming up. Also, the Mercury, maybe, they may make some strides going into WNBA playoffs, and so much more. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. CBS 3's Nick King coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition, the last one for the month of August. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, executes again, IG.
We're going to preview the 2025 Arizona Cardinals along with the NFC West division and discuss everything else Arizona professional and college sports with our next guest. If you have any questions or comments for us during this segment, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
I had him on last year. Of course, Sid was out. So Sid will get a chance to talk to him for the first time. He's a sports egger reporter for Arizona Family, KTV, K3TV, and CBS 5 affiliate down there in Phoenix, Arizona. He's the one, the only, the fabulous Mr. Nick King. If I could get his... Nick. Yeah, how are you, Nick? Darn it.
Hey, what's happening, y'all?
Hey, there we go.
Sorry. We're doing
Good afternoon to you.
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm great. I am great. It is my weekend. I work a Sunday to Thursday schedule, so life is good.
Love it, love it. All right, so let's talk about the Cardinals for a second. Now, the Cardinals are kind of a fascinating team to look out for. So, what is your synopsis for the Cardinals this year?
Yeah, I think they are actually a really interesting team. Biased because they're the team that I cover every day, but it's kind of there are playoff expectations, and there hasn't been many playoff appearances in the Kyler Murray era. He's entering year 7. They've only been once with him as the starting quarterback, and the one time they went, they got trounced in the first round by the Rams. But it's year 3 under head coach Jonathan Gannon. They've had the same offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing. They've had the same defensive coordinator, Nick Rallis, for each of those years under Gannon. And there's been serious strides. And the culture of the Cardinals has changed quite a bit from when Cliff Kingsbury was the coach. And so they went 4 wins. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go finish your thought, Nick. I thought you was finished. I apologize.
No worries, Sidney. I was just going to say they won 4 games in 23. They won 8 games last year while sliding down the stretch. They were really bad after their bye week in late November and December. So it was a disappointing finish, and they were still an 8-win team. I think they're super capable of being a 10, 11-win team this season.
Now, let's stay with the offense. Nick, first of all, nice to meet you officially. Get to wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. Starting off last year and then struggled. Where do you expect him?
Okay, I caught a little bit of that. I know the question was about MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, he was the first wide receiver taken last year. Super talented crop of wide receivers in that 24 draft. And because he was considered to be the clear best of those guys, and then he wasn't as a rookie, it was a little bit disappointing. He was also thrown into a situation where he was the number 1 wide receiver for the Cardinals. They don't have that number 1 guy. Otherwise, really, they still don't. Like, their best receiver is their tight end, Trey McBride, who's maybe quietly like top 2-3 tight ends in the NFL now. Last year was kind of a breakout year for him. But people expected Marvin Harrison Jr. to come in and look like a guy who was in year 3, year 4. And we've seen some of that lately, whether it was Malik Neighbors last year or Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson when those guys were coming out. Could go down the line, receivers that have excelled as rookies. And it was a little bit bumpy last year. The connection between Marvin and Kyler Murray was inconsistent. There were a lot of times where it just didn't look like those guys were on the same page. They got anywhere close to the goal line. Anything that was on the sideline, like a back shoulder throw or a fade, it just didn't feel like they were synced up there. And his final numbers aren't bad. It was like 8 touchdowns and 700-800 yards receiving. Maybe even a little bit more. But the expectations were really high. So I think year 2 ought to look better. A full year of him and Kyler working together. They say that the relationship, the connection is much stronger now. There was a lot of talk around here over the last month or 2 that Marvin Harrison Jr. put on like 15 pounds of muscle. He looks like a different dude. He says the speed is still the same, that his body was always able to support that kind of weight. He just hadn't eaten enough or lifted enough to look the way he does now. But the idea that he can be stronger, to get a little bit more separation from corners, that was one thing that maybe that he made a bunch of really impressive catches last year. But there wasn't always the separation. It was like if the ball got there, he was probably going to catch it, but there wasn't the windows weren't there a lot of times to get to him. So I think he'll be really good. They need him to be really good.
You just mentioned Trey McBride because we saw that with the Bears when the Cardinals played the Bears last year. He was a big part of the reason why the Cardinals basically beat up the Bears. What do you think? What do you think? I know he kind of came out. I don't want to say he came out of nowhere, but he kind of became kind of like a household name. So what do you think? What are his expectations this season?
Yeah, when the Cardinals drafted him out of Colorado State, people around here were like, "What are you doing? Like, you have Zach Ertz." You have so many other positions of need around here. And he was hurt a bit his rookie season, and Zach Ertz was still here. And didn't see a lot from him. And then he was a lot better in his second season. And then last year again was the breakout, his third year. But he's so good. He does not drop a ball. He gets separation. Like, linebackers and safeties cannot cover him. I mean, he is the George Kittle, Travis Kelce in his prime type of tight end. I think he's every bit as good as those guys. And the only thing, honestly, that he can be better at, and I don't even know how much of it was him, was kind of like a running joke. He ended up with 100 some odd catches last year. It took until week 15, 16, 17 to have a touchdown reception. He had recovered a fumble in the end zone. He had taken a handoff and scored, but he did not have a receiving touchdown until right at the end of the year. It was the strangest thing. They'd march down the field and every pass would go to Trey, and then they'd get to the goal line and they couldn't connect. They couldn't get it to him. So I would expect more touchdowns this year, but I don't see any world where he drops off at all. I think he's going to be top 3 tight end in the NFL for the next 5 to 8 years.
Now let's discuss running back James Conner. We saw him early in his career with Pittsburgh, and we saw some flashes there. But outside of Trey McBride, we just talked about his game to another level, or do you think he'll stay at the same level as he has been in the last couple of years in that Cardinals uniform?
I think that's all they need him to be. He had never had a 1,000-yard rushing season, and now he's had 2 in a row. So yeah, he was great in Pittsburgh, but he's probably been even better and even more consistent and available in Arizona. They really like Trey Benson, who's a second-year running back too, who didn't get a lot of playing time last year. I think we'll probably get a few more carries this season to try to keep Conner, who's either just turned 30. He's getting a little bit older for a running back. Try to preserve him a bit. We'll see a little bit more Trey Benson, but we love James Conner. He is so impressive. Going back to when he was in college at Pitt and going through some real serious health scares. He's just the most impressive guy. The way he carries himself, the kind of leader he is, there's nobody else like that in the Cardinals locker room. That just everyone in that locker room kind of looks to him and is like, that's the guy. That's the guy you model yourself after. That's the guy you listen to when he talks, because he doesn't always say a lot. But when he does, everyone stops talking and listens to what he says. And the other thing, because I'm sure we probably won't hit on it because the offensive line isn't as sexy, but the entire Cardinals offense, we talk about these different position groups, wide receiver, tight end, running back. Everyone's back. Their most influential 17 players on offense are all back from a year ago. And they really didn't add much. They added a ton of pieces on the defensive side of the ball. But the offense is exactly the same, which, you could say, well, they weren't that great last year. They were solid. The running game was really good. For 2 years in a row, with Connor and with this offensive line, the Cardinals have been one of the 3 best rushing attacks in football. They're physical, but just the idea that it's so familiar, the continuity is there. Like everyone not only knows each other but knows the offense. I think that's one of the reasons for optimism around here is it's just a level of continuity that you don't see a lot year to year in the NFL.
Now, you just touched on the defense. One of the guys that just brought back, well, they brought Calais Campbell back, and then they brought on Super Bowl champ Josh Sweat. How much do you think the defense improved just from those 2 additions alone?
So much. They have not been a good defense the past 2 seasons. They were really good at kind of bend but don't break last year, where they would give up a ton of yards, and then a lot of times they were pretty good at clamping down in the red zone and forcing teams to a field goal. But overall, they just statistically have not been a great defense for 2 years. And the biggest area of need was the pass rush. And Calais Campbell's incredible. He's the oldest player in the NFL who's not a quarterback, a kicker, or a long snapper. And he's a defensive tackle who's just a giant of a human. He's like 6'8". It's incredible that he's still playing and still feels like he can play at a high level. Maybe not as many snaps as he was playing 5 or 10 years ago, but he's really good. We've hardly seen Josh Sweat because he didn't play in the preseason, so there's a lot of anticipation to get him on the field and see what it looks like for real. Because obviously in training camp there's no hitting the quarterback, and it can be hard to tell exactly how dominant someone's capable of being on the pass rush. But those 2 guys, they also brought in Dalvin Tomlinson, who's an enormous human being who was in Cleveland. And so they've got kind of the guys that were counted on to be starters a season ago are now depth guys. A couple of names that won't get talked about around the league, like Dante Stills, LJ Collier, are super serviceable. They've got a couple guys that are hurt. Their first round pick, Walter Nolan, out of Ole Miss, who they took 16th overall, I think. He got hurt right before training camp started and is going to be out for at least the first 4 weeks of the season. So that doesn't help, but that their first round pick on the defensive side of the ball last year, Darius Robinson, who played at Missouri, he was hurt to start the season in 2024. So it's kind of a repeat from that, but Robinson didn't play until the last third of the season. So he feels like this is almost his first year in the NFL too. That's another pass rusher that they'll count on. So there's some injuries, but that was clearly their focus of the offseason was to deepen that part of the roster. And yeah, Calais, Josh Sweat are the 2 big names there, but that's what they need to be the difference from a year ago to now is the pass rush. And on paper, it seems like they've upgraded significantly.
We're hanging out with Arizona family, CBS 5's Nick King, right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Still LaKeena here with you on our Friday Fun Edition, previewing the Arizona Cardinals in the NFC West. Nick, Mac Wilson Jr. and Xavier Collins is your 2 outstanding linebackers. It looks like they're going to be your starting linebackers again this year. Talk to us about those 2 star linebackers. As you mentioned, with the addition of Joshua, it looks like their jobs is going to be, on paper, at least a little bit easier for them this year to get after the quarterback and perhaps cause some turnovers for that defense.
Yeah, linebacker is kind of an interesting position because the real leader on that side of the ball, so they still have Budda Baker, who's incredible and had just an unbelievable season a year ago as a safety. But the other guy was Kaiser White, who was kind of their middle linebacker, and they don't have him anymore. And so it was, last year it was Kaiser and Mac Wilson. And so Mac Wilson kind of has to be that guy now to fill those shoes of Kaiser, being the one calling the plays, got the green dot on his helmet, taking the calls from defensive coordinator Nick Rallis. And Zaven Collins has been like low-key solid. He was a first-round pick in 21 maybe, and hasn't maybe been a superstar, but he's been good. He's been just solidly good, I would say. Makes plays at times, but I think is just more consistent than anything at doing his job and kind of funneling plays elsewhere. Really athletic dude. And Mac Wilson's been really good. There's some question marks maybe next to those two guys. Like, who else is going to be the linebacker? They drafted a couple who have looked like Jordan Birch is one, was a 3rd or 4th round draft pick this year out of Oregon. And he's looked really good in the preseason, for what it's worth, preseason. But there might be a couple of young guys and kind of journeyman NFL guys who have to play a decent amount of snaps too. Linebacker and then cornerback is another kind of question mark for the defense, I think.
Now let's talk about the rest of the NFC West, because people are saying this could be a very interesting division this year. Of course, you got the Cardinals, and people say they maybe make a move. Of course, you got Seattle and San Fran, and you got the Rams as well. Where do you think the Cardinals measure up in the NFC West? Very competitive NFC West.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting division because the Niners obviously took a big step back last year and were decimated by injuries. And so what do they look like now? Always a question of how much Christian McCaffrey is healthy or not. They are really good generally since McCaffrey's been there, when he's available and playing. How much does losing Deebo Samuel impact that offense? They don't have Brandon Ayuk, I think, for the first third or so of the year is the expectation at this point. I have a hard time believing that they will not be a lot better than they were a year ago, though. I think Kyle Shanahan's as good of a head coach as there is in the NFL. I think John Lynch is really great as a general manager. I think they'll be back to being a threat in the NFC, which as a conference in general, I still think is so much less loaded than the AFC. And that's why I think the Cardinals should be a playoff team, just because it's not as deep of a conference. So you got the Niners. The Rams are really interesting. I think kind of a dark horse Super Bowl contender because the defense is really young and good, but what's happening with Matthew Stafford and his back is probably the big difference maker. I know he's practicing right now and seems to be available, but as an older quarterback with back issues, that sure sounds like it can be fragile. And I think it is a fairly significant drop-off to Jimmy Garoppolo, even though we've seen, when Jimmy G was in San Francisco, he certainly had some success, but I don't imagine them to be the same team if Jimmy G has to play a significant number of games. So I guess, and then the Seahawks, not the same kind of talent that there was for most of the previous decade and a half in Seattle. I'm certainly interested to see what Sam Darnold looks like. Like, was it a kind of revelation for him in Minnesota that he can be a really good quarterback now? Or was that a product of the system in Minnesota and it doesn't look as clean and as smooth in Seattle? So by and large, I think it's a pretty open division at the moment. Wouldn't be surprised at all if the Niners and the Rams are back at the top. But if Stafford's out for any significant amount of time, and if things just don't click the same way in San Francisco, or McCaffrey's hurt again, I think it's available for, I would say the Cardinals more than the Seahawks, but pretty much for anyone that it could be an open division.
Last moment too with CBS 5's Nick King from Phoenix, Arizona, right here on the Funga. Let's go over to baseball. Nick, the Arizona Diamondbacks 2 years ago, they were in the World Series, lost a tough one to the Texas Rangers. Fast forward now, Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor are both gone. It looks like for the second year in a row, they won't make the playoffs, but it may be changes off the field, stadium issues. I know a couple of people said they may move. I don't see that happening. What's the latest off the field as far as possible stadium renovations in Arizona, staying in that Phoenix metro area?
Yeah, I think they're going to be here. It has been kind of an ongoing conversation that the team's lease at Chase Field, which is in downtown Phoenix, was up in 2027. And it's one of the older stadiums in baseball. Been there since the Diamondbacks became a franchise in the late 90s. And there's been very few upgrades to it since. And the team has basically said, like, we're willing to put the owner, Ken Kendrick, has said, we're willing to put in a certain amount ourselves, but we would like some help from the city, from the county, from the state. It's that field, that stadium is kind of owned by all of those parties in Arizona. So they have, in the past couple of months here, introduced a bill that's going to allow the Diamondbacks to basically recoup a lot of the money on taxes paid at the stadium. So on clothing at the team shop and food at the stadium, they're going to now keep a portion of that money to fund upgrades to the stadium over the next couple of years here. That was going directly back to the county or the city. So I think things are pretty much set, that they're not going to be going anywhere, at least for the foreseeable future.
Last question for me, Nick. I know we got Arizona State. They were in the playoff last year. They kind of, I don't want to say snuck up on people, but they kind of did still snuck up on some folks. They're number 11 in both polls. They're one of the favorites for the Big 12. So where do you see, can they reach the playoff again this year?
Yeah, they should. It would almost be a disappointment if they don't, which in some ways doesn't feel fair, because I think you're looking at one, maybe two teams from the Big 12 that you could reasonably expect to get in the playoff, just because it's still going to be so dominated by the Big 10 and the SEC. But ASU has like 17, 18 starters back from that team. And they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Sam Levitt is a redshirt sophomore who really did open a lot of people's eyes last year. It's a guy went to high school in Oregon. He went to Michigan State out of school, didn't really play as a true freshman at Michigan State, transferred to ASU as part of a quarterback competition going into last season. And there was no, like, it wasn't like this was a 5-star transfer from Alabama or something like that. Like, people didn't know a lot about him. And he's really good. I mean, he is on that kind of Heisman preseason radar, and I think he should be. Like, incredible arm talent and really, really driven young man who I can remember when we talked to him last year when he earned the starting job in August of 24, him talking about his mirror, his bathroom mirror at home, and the things he writes on there. And a lot of times it's like quarterbacks around the country who are ranked higher than him. And he's like, I'm going to be better than this dude and this dude and this dude. And it's a lot of just finding slights anywhere that he can and deciding that he's going to prove people wrong. Now he's had to shift that a little bit because people are talking about him in a different way heading into this season. But I think he's awesome. And he's got a wide receiver named Jordan Tyson, who's one of the best wideouts in the country, who might be a first or second round pick next April in the NFL draft, who is just super freaky, twitchy, fast, makes plays. And so the one thing that they don't have is their all-world running back from a season ago, Cam Scadaboo, who finished 5th in the Heisman voting and was like the heart and soul of the team. And I've never watched a college player in person kind of bounce off more tackles and keep himself up. Like his balance was incredible. And that dude like became a hero in this town. That's like a cult hero that's never going to be forgotten. Like people are going to be talking about Cam Scadaboo for decades. So they don't have him. They have very capable running backs to replace him, and I think it'll be a little bit more by committee this season. Maybe that's the only thing that you're looking at, though, is without that guy who is, as I say, who was like the heartbeat of the team, who kind of fills that gap. I think it can realistically be Sam Levitt, who's grown a lot as a leader too. And then last year, to get to the playoff, they won a number of one-score games where they scored late, like in the final 3 minutes last year. It kind of felt like coin flip games. And, you know, if you're on the wrong end of a couple coin flip games, the season looks totally different. But the Big 12 also feels pretty open that there's no dominant team. And I think just because of how many guys are back from ASU, they should be a top 10 team at the end of the year.
Sid?
All right, this has been CBS 5's Nick King from Phoenix, Arizona, talking all Arizona college and pro sports. Nick, before we spring you, tell everybody where can they follow you on social media. Okay, Twitter is Nick King Sports and Instagram is King TV.
And all your great long form stories too. You know, you have great, and I've told you about complimenting you on your great long form stories to do. They're all on your Arizona Family YouTube page, so it's all right there as well.
Indeed, yes. Thank you, LaKeena.
All right, it's been so much fun. We gotta do this again, and hopefully we do it somewhere close to the basketball season. I know. Sid wants to ask you about the Suns and how well we won't talk about the Suns this year, but thanks again, Nick. It's been a lot of fun, and just enjoy continue to do the great work, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, you too, Nick. Much continued success.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So that was a lot. All right. So that was a lot of fun, Sid. So let's towel off here, and what are we gonna do in hour number 2, Sid?
We got to preview the big matchups in week 1 in college football. I know this is an exciting time for you. This weekend is definitely going to be exciting for your television, your streaming devices. And we got to get into the Micah Parsons trade to Green Bay. Does this mean that the Chicago Bears will finish last in their division? We'll discuss in the return of our girl, Miss Christine the Cream Manika, right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best. I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Friday Fun edition of Lot Loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. Your Shirley is Sidney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow your Shirley on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, Execution, and IG.
And we're going to kick off this half hour discussing the Micah Parsons trade, what this mean for the Chicago Bears, and we'll preview some of the big matchups in week 1 of college football. That and a whole lot more in this half hour. If you have any questions or comments on those subjects, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up of the screen for you.
All right. So, but first, since we didn't get a chance to do it earlier before Nick came on, let's do the MLB schedule for this weekend really quick. You got St. Louis and Cincy, and Atlanta and Philadelphia. Will Kyle Shore hit another home run? That's going to be the number one question. That game will be on Apple
last night. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 home runs. It's just don't remind me. Thanks, Herb Lawrence, for telling us that. Yeah, Jetty Theo made a big mistake by letting him go. Yeah, we know.
Hey, the White Sox could have picked him up in 2020. Thank you, Rick Hahn, you bastard. Go on.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, well, you should tell Herb that I think you forgot about that. But yeah, and we'll see. You'll see if But remember, you got to watch him on Apple TV Plus because the second game of that series will be on there tonight. Tampa Bay and the Nationals. You got Milwaukee and Toronto. Like I said, Toronto can help. It comes out a little bit here. That game will be on MLB Network. You got the Marlins and the Mets. Of course, they sweep the Phillies, but yet they lose the opener. The 2 out of 3, I should say, to the Phillies. But of course, they would lose the opener, their series opener, to the Mets.
Yeah, bad game for them last night. Giving out extra outs and a bunch of errors. Not good.
Yeah, at all. And you got Pittsburgh and Boston. MLB Network for that game. You got Seattle and the Guardians. And, of course, the Yankees and the Sox continue their series.
All right, the rest of the schedule for this weekend looks like this. The LA Angels will take on the Houston Astros, as Sean Sierra would say. Detroit and Kansas City will get it on from Kauffman Stadium. San Diego will take on the Twins from Minneapolis. LaKeena's Cubs will take on the Rockies. I think it's a must sweep for the Cubs there. Texas will take on Oakland of Sacramento, as we call them on this show. Arizona and the Dodgers will do battle tonight. Let's see if the Dodgers can stay on track. They swept Cincinnati earlier this week. And Baltimore will start their West Coast trip. They'll take on the San Francisco Giants.
That game will be on Apple TV Plus. Your Fox tri-regional coverage, if you will. Of course, you got Seattle and Cleveland. I think most of the trial will get this year, the Detroit and Kansas City game. And also, of course, the other game will be Baltimore and San Francisco. And your Roku game, we got the Padres and the Twins finishing up their series. Your Sunday night baseball game of the week will be the Braves and the Phillies. You may see a couple more home runs from Kyle Schwarber. We'll see. But that's good for this weekend in baseball.
All right, let's switch over to the NFL, of course. The Micah Parsons saga with the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones is finally over, as Micah Parsons, the stud defensive end, formerly now of the Cowboys, he was traded to the Green Bay Packers. Yes, bringing it back here to Chicago. He's in the NFC North now. He was traded for Clark Hunt and 2 first-round picks. Green Bay, I'll give them this. They are going all in as far as not just making the playoffs again like they did a year ago, despite having a 1-5 division record. But they're going in trying to get a championship. LaKeena, I'll start with you. What does this mean for the Packers, not only just for this year, but going forward? And does this mean, number 2, does this mean that the Chicago Bears will finish in last place this year?
I mean, it's interesting that Jerry Jones kept saying that, we're not going to trade him. He ends up trading him to the Packers, and they only gave up 2 first-rounders and Kenny Clark, what a
liar.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Clark's no slouch. I mean, the guy's been a couple of Pro Bowls, so it's not like this guy is some bum off the street. So he actually is a decent defensive tackle. So it didn't really take that much. Now I'm wondering though, did Ryan Poles at least call Jerry Jones to see the feelers out? Who knows? But as far as the Bears concerned, yeah, I mean, they won't be terrible, but yeah, I would be surprised if they go and they fall to last place in that division with this move. I think because the really thing is that they really need to deep up that defensive front with the Packers. So the pass rush, I mean, that was a really big issue for the Packers last year. So Parsons definitely improves that. The Bears still haven't addressed that pass rusher. Look, unless you're going to try to put Grady Jarrett, which he never has been a pass rusher. So that's going to be interesting. And also left tackle spot too. That's still a question mark. Are we going to do the by the committee kind of thing? So I think the Bears. I mean, I heard all the both Chicago sports radio stations, both The Score and ESPN Chicago. I know people were kind of dejected on both fronts, say, "Oh God, this is terrible. This guy is falling." I think they'll win. Like I said, we're not doing win totals yet, but I think they'll be okay. But like I said, they're not going to be they're not going to win 10 or 11 games. But I do think they will. They'll win 6 or 7. They'll win more than they did last year. But it is going to be tough, though, because especially with Parsons there, they definitely tips the scales in the NFC North. What do you think?
I think it does, too. You remember I predicted that Green Bay would finish in last place. Technically, it can still be possible, especially if Parsons gets hurt. But I'd like to caution Packers fans that, 1, I don't like your team, but that's nothing new. Number 2, going back to the football side of things, that it's going to take some time for him to get used to that defense. It's a new system, new teammates, and this trade just happened prior to your practice for your week 1 matchup against the Detroit Lions. So that chemistry between him and talking about Parsons and his teammates is going to take some time. So the fans have to get used to that. Number 2, if Green Bay wants to take that next step, Jordan Love has to be healthy. We talked about it all season. He was not healthy last year. He injured his knee in week 1 against Philadelphia and Brazil. He had that hamstring injury against Jacksonville last year. He just wasn't right. And that's why, and of course, they limped into the playoffs, and you saw them losing to the eventual world champion Eagles. So Jordan Love has to get right. Yes, their defensive line improved from last year with the addition of Parkins, but they don't have too much of cap room. So Outside of Romeo Dobbs and maybe a couple other receivers, I know Christian Watson was in and out last year with injuries and such things like that. But unless that offense improves, Green Bay's not going anywhere. Like I said, Micah Parsons definitely improves on paper, but it's that offense, and it starts with the health of Jordan Love if Green Bay is going to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting how they use Josh Jacobs. I know they probably use him less than they should have, and so I think that's going to be another key. I feel like Matthew Golden, I think, really needs to have a big year too to kind of help out Romeo Dobbs, especially if Watson's going to be in and out, and they got other guys in that wide receiving core. It's going to be a little bit banged up, so we'll see what happens there. Now the defense, so remember, Jair Alexander's in Baltimore now, so you got to think. I know they still got Xavier McKinney, but again, they really needed to beef up that secondary a bit. So, McDuffie's there. I know Rashad Gary is still there as well. I think that Parks definitely beefs up that front seven, but the guys around them, I think that's going to be the key. So I'm not going to say that the Packers will. I know people say the Packers will win that division, but I think they'll definitely going to be up there with the Vikings and Detroit. But you don't know what you're going to get with Parsons because it's a totally different scheme than what he's been used to in Dallas. So he definitely has to learn that. It's going to take him a couple of games to kind of get his feet wet and such because he didn't play all preseason. So I think Packers gonna have to be very patient, dare I say.
Yeah, like you said, we're on our next show next Friday. We'll give out our official predictions for the year. But that NFC North is up for grabs, and I think definitely Detroit and Minnesota will definitely take steps back. I think Minnesota will be the wild card in all this, and it'll come down to the legs and perhaps the armor of J.J. McCarthy. With Green Bay, like I said, they're going to have to get contributions from their wide receivers on offense. It has to start, and it starts with the health of Jordan Love. You mentioned with their defense, with the secondary, can Micah Parsons stay healthy? And if he can they create turnovers? As we said at various points last year, that defense had the potential to be good. They were active and they were flying around, but they got beat so many times. Just look at that regular season finale last year against Chicago, and that will tell you all you need to know about that defense right there. Of course, it set them up to get dominated by Saquon Barkley, Philadelphia, later the next week in that playoff loss. So, like I said, it's going to take some time for Parsons to get used to a new scheme, used to new teammates. But if they stay healthy, I think they'll be right there because the NFC North is wide open, folks. I know Detroit did well last year. They're not going to do that well this year. Minnesota came out of nowhere last year. Sam Darnold's gone. J.J. McCarthy, he's the biggest mystery in the division, perhaps in the NFL. Of course, you have Chicago and Green Bay. So that division is up for grabs. And I think the NFC will dive more deeper into this next Friday on the show. But I think the whole NFC is up for grabs. So whoever stays the most healthiest, or whoever stays the most consistent throughout the year and definitely playing their best going into the playoffs, I think is going to take the NFC. We talked about it with our guests last hour about the NFC West perhaps being wide open if Matthew Stafford was out for the Rams. You can say
Yeah, it's gonna be I think the whole NFC is definitely gonna be very interesting because I think Philadelphia, look, they've made some they've improved a lot, even though they're the defending Super Bowl champs. They're not resting on their laurels, so you got to give them credit for that. They're not doing that. I give Jeffrey Lurie all the credit in the world for not resting on their laurels. So that should be interesting in that NFC. Now that Micah Parsons gone, what happens with Dallas? Like, where do they go from here? And such, Washington, do they take a step back like some people are predicting? That the North is going to be interesting too. Like, how will Detroit look with both their coordinators now head coaches? Then you got the South. I mean, we haven't talked about the NFC South yet. I mean, that's going to be an interesting division to look out for. I know the Bucks are right there. Maybe Atlanta, especially at the way they finished the season last year. I think they want to kind of redeem themselves. The West is going to be an interesting division too, like we talked about with Nick a few minutes ago. I think it goes to San Francisco because I think the schedule is a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but they do have one of the easier schedules among the four teams in that division. So again, I think that whole NFC is going to be a big, is pretty open, I think.
Yeah. And bringing it back here to Chicago now, I know that my guy Ian Wheeler, I believe, made the team, but he's on injury reserve. And it looks like Braxton Jones is going to be your left tackle to start the year, which is no shock. But outside of those two names I just mentioned, Ken, any other moves that shot you from Tuesday as far as the final 53-man roster for the Bears?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Scott, I think getting cut, I think that was a little bit of a surprise. I think he ended up signing with the Colts practice squad. So I'm wondering, could we probably see him in a Colts uniform? I think that was probably the one that was kind of interesting. But Janae Walker, he got in final 353 man, so good for him. But yeah, I don't think that other than the Tyler Scott thing, I think that nothing really surprised me. I don't think any of the cuts surprised me though.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And speaking of Janae Walker, our buddy Caitlin Sharkey, friend of the show from WGN, she interviewed him the other day. You can catch it on WGN TV right here on YouTube. You can catch it on their website as well. It was a great interview. So that young man came from some humble beginnings, and he deserved a spot on the team. Those kind of the guys you like to root for, and so he made a spot on the team. Hopefully, he could be a big contributor for the Bears' success for this year.
Absolutely. This is NCAAF Sports on Sports on Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Now we're going into my favorite time of year, well, one of my favorite times of the year, and that is college football. We got officially week one. Officially, we did have some scores last night. Upset, maybe. I don't know what to call upset, but South Florida upsets Boise State at home 34-7. I don't think people thought that they would, South Florida would beat them this badly. Life without Ashton Jency, unfortunately for the Broncos. So I think they're learning that the hard way. Rutgers held off Ohio. Nebraska, thanks to a late interception, they held off Cincy at Arrowhead. Wyoming beat Akron. Your guy PJ Fleck at Minnesota, they pulled away from the Buffalo Bulls. Wisconsin beat Miami of Ohio 17-0, and San Diego State no trouble with Stony Brook.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of these out of conference schedule, out of conference games this weekend, and so for these big teams to get it going and get off to a nice start. We'll start out with which is the important games tonight. We'll start out locally here in Chicago. Well, down there in Champaign. That you can watch that game exclusively on Peacock tonight at 6:30 p.m. The number 12 Fighting Illini, they'll host Western Illinois. The Fighting Illini, they're favored by 48.5 points down there in Champaign. Do they cover the spread?
I think they do cover it. I think because there's a lot expected for Illinois this year. They kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but I think no one had them on the radar. They came out, and of course they beat South Carolina in their bowl game. But we've seen the theme here that Illinois tends to take a step back when they do have these big seasons. So hopefully that's not that's going to be the case. But again, I think they should have no trouble with the line next to Western Illinois.
At 6 p.m. tonight on FS1, the in-state battle of sorts. Western Michigan will travel to East Lansing to take on the Michigan State Spartans. The Spartans have struggled the last few years. They're looking forward to having a bounce-back year. They're favored at 21.5. I think they get it done here. But do you think Michigan State will have a bounce-back year, or do you think it's going to be another struggle bus?
I mean, Michigan State's going to be interesting because they, like I said, the last couple of years has been, some. I don't want to get into like the stuff that they had to go through and such. But I think the schedule sets up for them to actually have a decent year. They do get Michigan at their house this year. Of course they do, but you got to go at Indiana and they do host Penn State. I think if you're Sparty, I think you want to at least get to a bowl game because they haven't been to a bowl game the last few years. So we'll see. But yeah, Michigan State's should have a little bit better year than they did last year.
All right, let's get into the big time matchups for tomorrow, Saturday, 11 a.m. on Big News Saturday, the season premiere of the Ohio State Buckeyes, number 3 ranked in the nation. They'll host number 1 Texas Longhorns. Arch Manning will make his 2025 season debut. The Buckeyes are favored by a point and a half at home. Do the Buckeyes get it done at home, or will Arch Manning steal the show?
Gonna be very interesting to see what happens. There's the rematch, of course, of the championship. The semifinal game last season's semifinal game. So I think it's gonna be interesting. Like you said, I mean, they still got Jeremiah Smith, even though some of the other guys that we mentioned, like Travion Henderson, he's in the NFL now. So I think there's definitely gonna be a toss-up game as how Vegas has it. So for me, I think it's going to be interesting to see like how Texas and Ohio State Texas got a lot of their guys back. Ohio State doesn't. So that's going to be interesting to see that maybe it's because a point ahead because it's at the horseshoe. So we'll see. But I'm kind of fascinated to see what happens in that game. So we'll see here. But you forgot your guy Deion Sanders over at Colorado. They host Georgia Tech tonight on ESPN at 7. We'll see how a lot of his guys are gone. Of course, Shadir Sanders, Travis Hunter, they're all gone. So I know he's had his health issues. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Syracuse and Tennessee on ABC at the same time tomorrow. Then you have Kentucky hosting Toledo. That's going to be on the SEC network. Let's see. Purdue and Ball State host Ball State on BTN. Northwestern hoping to have a bounce back year. They had to go down to New Orleans to face Tulane at 11 a.m. on ESPNU. All right. And you got Penn State. A lot of people are predicting them to pass.
That's going to be a tough game for Northwestern. They're definitely going to need their defense.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be a tough one. Not going to be an easy place to play. Tulane gave teams fits last year, so we'll see how they look this year. Indiana, speaking of Indiana, saying the Big Ten, they host Old Dominion. Yes, they have a football team down there in over there in Virginia. It'll be on FS1 at 1:30. What's the afternoon game? So you got Penn State 2:30 on CBS and Paramount Plus as they host the Wolfpack of Nevada.
Yeah, the Nittany Lions, James Franklin, all the pressures on him for this year to get over that hump and grab a national championship that lost in ugly fashion to the Northern Nittany. Say that 5 times fast. I got the Nittany Lions all the way.
All right, and Georgia hosts Marshall. It's going to be ESPN at 2:30. And interesting one here. You got Alabama and Florida State down there in Tallahassee. That's going to be at 2:30 on ABC. Do you think Florida State can pull off the upset?
I think they can because 2 years ago they're on the doorstep of participating in the college football playoff. They lost their quarterback, had a whole rash of injuries, and they had a disappointing year. Alabama's going to have a new starting quarterback this year. I think Alabama will win here, but I think it's going to be a surprise close. I know Alabama's favored by 14.5, but don't be surprised if the Seminoles can hang around for a while.
Mike Norvell could definitely use a big win there. Iowa State, fresh off of their big win against K-State in Dublin. They host South Dakota. That's going to be on the Big Fox Network at 2:30. And going into Oregon, they host Montana State on BTN. Yeah, Oklahoma hosting Illinois State, I should say. That's going to be on ESPN Plus. Let's see here. Florida and
Speaking of ESPN Plus.
Go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of ESPN Plus at 2:30, Northern Illinois will host Holy Cross. If you, I don't know if you heard any comments from the Huskies head coach. That transfer portal has got him going crazy. I'll leave it at that. Google's your friend. I'll leave it at that.
I saw the interview he did with our buddy Chris Bowden over GN Sports about a week ago. He was about to. I think he basically said it was like if he had any hair, he would be tearing it out. He's bald, of course, but he's a bald brother. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, Google that interview that our buddy Chris Bowden did from WGN, the GN Sports, there from about a week ago. Florida and Long Island University, that's at 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus. K-State holding a bounce back from a loss to Iowa State. They face North Dakota, Texas A&M, and the Road Runners of Texas San Antonio. Beep, beep. They'll be down there at Kyle Field at 6 o'clock on ESPN. And, of course, and of course, the big one here Saturday night, you got Clemson hosting LSU on ABC at 6:30. Where do you see this game, Sid?
I think Cade Klubner is going to have a big game because he's a top 5 Heisman candidate for this year. You saw what he did last year. Quietly, no one was talking about him too much. Shout out Dabu Sweeney for not actually putting his name in the headlines last year. On the flip side for LSU, you know that what's his face? He's been disappointing. That their head coach for LSU for Notre Dame, Brian Kelly, thank you. That's how bad he's been over the last couple years. You know they don't do well in opening weekend games, so I think it's going to be closer than what people think. Clemson's favored by 4.5. I won't be surprised if Clemson wins by 10 points.
Oh boy, Michigan will host New Mexico at 6:30 on that's going to be on ABC and Peacock. Texas Tech hosts Arkansas Pine Bluff on ESPN Plus. USC, not a lot of people are talking about them. They host Missouri State at 6:30 on Big Ten Network. Ole Miss and Georgia State on SEC Network. They got SMU hosting East Texas A&M. That's a D2 school, folks. They're at 8 o'clock on the ACC Network. Arizona State, of course, we talked about my buddy Nick earlier. They host Northern Arizona. And you got your CW Network game. We got Wazoo, Washington State against Idaho at 9. And you got an old big Pac-12, Pac-10 / Pac-12 matchup. Now this is a non-conference matchup. We got California and Oregon State on ESPN. TNT makes its debut in college football, regular season anyway, as Hawaii face Arizona. It's going to be on TNT and streaming on HBO Max. Utah and UCLA, an old Pac-12 rivalry game. That's going to be at 10 o'clock on Fox. And also got Colorado State and Washington on BTN, also at 10 o'clock.
All right, a couple more games quickly. 2 for Sunday, 1 for Monday. 2 games on Sunday. Virginia Tech at number 13, South Carolina. That's at 2 o'clock on Sunday on ESPN. And, of course, the primetime game. We'll ask Christina about this game after the break. We'll have number 6 Notre Dame facing number 10, the Miami Hurricanes. That's at Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. on ABC. And, of course, Monday at 7 o'clock on ESPN. I'm definitely looking forward to this one. TCU versus North Carolina, the debut of head coach Bill Belichick. How many times will they mention and show his girlfriend?
Is she actually going to be there, though? Is she going to be there, though? That's the number one question.
If she is, she'll get more face time than Bill.
All right, that's good for this weekend, this long weekend in college football coming up. We're going to take a really quick break. We got to go Christy Mann from KRXB on deck, and we got so much to talk about with her from the White Sox. We got sports media news as a major demotion for the NBA Finals, and so much more. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. KRXB's Christy Manika coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow McGee on the Twitter, X, and goes again, IG.
This is the last regular show for today and for this long extended holiday weekend. So any last minute questions or comments for us at YouTube, type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Our buddy is back with us from KRXB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's our girl, your weekend girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. What's up, Christine? Yay!
Hey guys, happy Friday!
Yeah.
Hello. How are you?
Happy Friday
we're
to
doing
you
good.
too.
Yeah, we're doing good over here.
Oh, good. Yeah, because it hasn't been too hot, so I think that's helped.
Oh, it's been great.
Yeah, so that's helped a lot. So, got a lot to talk about with her. So, where do you want to go first with Miss Christine?
We'll pick up where we did in our last segment in college football. Of course, LaKeena is very excited. This is one of her favorite times of the year. It's officially week one, not that week zero garbage from last week, but this is officially week one in college football. This Sunday, Christine, your Notre Dame Fighting Irish will take on the Miami Hurricanes. What is your outlook for the Fighting Irish this year? Be honest now. Be honest. I know you're a super fan, but be honest.
Oh, I think we're going to do well this year. They could have a good run. Their schedule is actually it's competitive, but I think it's very winnable for them. Even with the Hurricanes coming up on Sunday, they're always overhyped. I feel like the Hurricanes, so it's still going to be a good matchup. It's a great primetime matchup, but I think Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, they're going to be charging. Here come the Irish.
Back in the day, this matchup, this rivalry was also very interesting. Of course, you guys remember the Catholic versus Convicts from 1988 and all that stuff. So none of that, though. None of that. There actually is a lot of respect between these two programs. You know, Mario Cristobal was right in the middle of a lot of those, but back in the late 80s, early 90s. But yeah, it should be interesting, though. So, my goodness, what do you think about the season overall? Who are kind of like your favorites, if you will, go into this season
for college football?
Yes.
Oh, well, Notre Dame, number one. Number two, I get, I don't want to say Ohio State. Nah, I was going to do it to be nice to my sister, but I'm not going to do that. Recently, over the last couple of years, Purdue has always had a good hype around them. During this time of the year, Purdue has surprised a lot of people over the last couple of years. And I guess, boy, out here, I'm excited for our South Dakota Coyotes. They are in for a really good season this year. Now, they are playing Iowa State, so that can kind of go either way, I feel like. And that's my partner's team right there, Iowa State. So he's excited for the matchup. It's either going to go good or bad. That's how he puts it. They just had their big win in Dublin, so that was exciting for the Cyclones out there in Iowa. I guess North Carolina too, just to see what Bill Belichick does. I'm interested to see what Colorado does with Coach Prine and without Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders back at the helms this year. So, yeah, I think it could honestly be up in the air. It could be anyone's game this year. I think Brian Kelly is probably going to be playing for his job at LSU. So that's going to be another interesting one to watch. Those are the first ones that come to mind for me.
All right, the big game takes place tomorrow in the horseshoe between Ohio State and Texas. Of course, Texas will have Arch Manning start for the Texas Longhorns. He was a backup last year. Now he gets a big start on the road. Of course, Ohio State is up there for one of a few contenders for the national championship. Who takes it tomorrow? Will it be Ohio State in the close one, or do you think Arch Manning will shock the world and win a big one on the road?
I could be nice, like I said, and support my sister's Buckeyes, but I'm gonna put my horns up for Texas, if you know what I'm saying. Welcome.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Now, well, we talked about Brian Kelly. You mentioned him about a minute ago. You got a tough one. The Tigers do against another Tigers team, this time in Clemson. So where do you see that game tomorrow?
That's going to be a big one right out the gate. It's going to show whether or not LSU is the team to be with Brian Kelly or if they have to go in a different direction. So that game is going to be really telling. If it's a close game, I could see everyone saying it was a commendable effort, but I can also see people ragging on them too at the same time. So we'll see. Clemson has had some down years the past couple of years now, and it's up to Brian Kelly's team, LSU, to take advantage of that.
Okay. One last game for you, Christine. Monday night, 7 p.m. on ESPN. You mentioned Coach Bill Belichick. He'll make his debut against TCU. TCU is favored by 3.5 points. I know everybody's going to be watching to see what Bill Belichick does now that he's coaching. And what do you see?
I think he's going to give everybody a good show. I think everyone's just going to be interested to see how he runs a college team as opposed to a pro NFL team. We all know that the goal is for Belichick in his mind to get himself back into the NFL. He just wants to show everybody that he can still coach and he knows what he's talking about too. So we'll see how his Patriot years transfers to the collegiate level now. It's a different game than what it was even when he started coaching. So we'll have to see what he comes up with.
Could be very interesting. A lot of eyes are going to be on that game for sure on Monday. The Micah Parsons trade to the Packers. I know you were not very happy in our group chat. So
no one was. No one is.
What do you think? How does this measure up? Does it make them a favorite in the division, the NFC North, about the Packers, or where do you think the Bears fit in all this?
I'll tell you what. When we were talking about it this morning, I said we have to go check the water down in Dallas because apparently all their general managers down there this year have been crazy between the Luka trade and then the Micah Parsons trade. Something's going down there in Dallas and they're not in the right head right now. And whatever Jerry Jones said about them thinking about this for a long time, trading Micah Parsons, I don't believe it. I just think in Jerry's mind, it got annoying that people were talking about it. So he decided to give him something else to talk about, which was trading him. Now, besides the Packers, I knew that the Dolphins were also interested and they threw their hat in the ring to get Michael Parsons, and they were pretty close in doing so too. But could have been any other team. Could have been any other team, but the Packers. It will be interesting to see how his life transitions from Dallas to Green Bay. I know he's still staying in Dallas during the off seasons. That's what he said on his initial post. But it's different in Green Bay. He may be from, the Pennsylvania area, but it's been a long time since he's probably embraced that colder weather. So I'm interested to see how his skills are going to be transferred at Lambeau Field once, the temperature drops a little bit. He won't have Jerry's World anymore to keep him nice and warm.
You ain't lying about that.
Yeah.
But as me and LaKeena said in our last segment before you came on, it's going to take him time to get used to a new playbook, used to new teammates, but If Green Bay is healthy, I think they'll be right there. The whole NFC North, in my opinion, is up for grabs. But we'll ask you your opinion about the Bears and how many games they'll win. We'll ask you about that next week. But since the 53-man roster is now finalized, we saw a little bit, at least from the starters this preseason. What is your feeling going into this year about the Bears? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling neutral? Or especially after this Micah Parsons trade, is your head hanging low? What's your feeling about the Bears going into this 2025 season?
I definitely felt queasy yesterday after hearing the Micah Parsons news. I couldn't believe it, seeing Packers on there, and I was in disbelief. I think everybody was in disbelief for a little bit. Even the Packers fans, I don't think they ever thought that this could be a possibility. When it comes to the Bears season, though, and the current 53-man roster they got going, I'm confident these guys are excited to play, not just for the organization as a whole, but with Coach Ben Johnson. You can tell that there's just a different energy now. He and his staff, they're taking over the team, and anyone that's been a part of that organization for the last couple of years would probably say the same thing, is that there's just a different energy in the room, different excitement. Even the way that he interacts with the team during practice, you saw him getting all mic'd up and he was excited about that. I can't see Eberflus ever doing something like that. And he had to because he was on Hard Knocks, but just off the cuff like that, no, I couldn't see him having that type of a personality with the guys and, encouraging them to do something different, do something that they're not normally used to doing. I remember he was talking to Case Keenum about running a certain route, and he's like, "Oh, I haven't done that in a while." And then Ben's like, "You can do it." Coach Johnson's like, "You can do it. Go on, try it." And then he's like, "I don't know." And then he's like, "No, come on, do it." So it's like he's encouraging him to step out of their comfort zone and to do something out of the ordinary from the playbook. So it gets me excited that they're just genuinely excited to be a part of the team under Ben Johnson and just to make a new chapter for the organization.
The first four
Before I
games
throw
gonna
it back,
be. Go ahead, Sid.
yeah, before I throw it back to you, LaKeena, I think this was or late last week. I don't know if you saw the Bears official social media account. There was a window washer washing. He happened to be right in front of Kevin Warren's office. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he was washing his windows, and Warren knocked on the window. He said, "Hey, do you want some tickets?" He said, "Yeah." And he gave him the guys tickets. I thought that was a very cool moment. Christine, I'll start with you if you saw
Yeah,
it.
I think, yeah, I thought that was last year that happened because I know he did that a couple of times. Like he was at an office and saw the window washers and they were giving tickets. So yeah, I remember that video going around. So it's pretty cool to see that and to see, people getting Bears tickets and having fun with with the game day experience. It's just cool that Kevin Warren would do something like that for just someone that was doing their job. So I hope we see something like that again this year too.
Yeah, so I think he's done it since he's been here. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not that I know people they saw it, it's a new thing, but he's actually been doing it for a few years now. So
Yeah.
but yeah, but good on him for doing that. Now the first four, go back to the Bears for a second on the field for a little bit here. I think the first four games are going to be. I don't know what's going to be telling. Of course, we got you got the Vikings on Monday Night Football to start off the season. Then you got at Detroit. Then you got to go. You got to host Dallas. We'll see how Dallas looks by that point. And then you got to go, of course, to go to Vegas before the early bye they got coming up in week 5. So that's really going to be a little bit to see where the Bears will be by the time they do that bye. Will they be 2-2? Will they be 1-3? Will they be 3-1 or whatever? So I think for me, that's going to be the part where that's going to be the part where you're going to see like how this new Bears team look. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely a tougher schedule to start off the season. Not the greatest when you have you have the Vikings first, then you go straight to the Lions, Dallas. That's an up in the air team right now. Even the Raiders right now, we don't know what they're capable of yet. We don't know what they're going to do under Pete Carroll. But what I do know is that Pete Carroll still has the football mind, and he knows how to make great teams and even create great quarterbacks too. So that game is going to be tougher than what some Bears fans think.
And Christine may be correct, and it depends on where the Bears are. Excuse me, overall heading to the game because that next week, as you mentioned, LaKeena, is their bye week. So could the Bears be looking ahead a little bit? I don't know, but I think these factors will be included in on how well the Bears will jump out the game. Who's going to be that second partner next to Montez Sweat in terms of creating pressure on the quarterback? Remember, Austin Booker, just like last year, had a good preseason, but it didn't translate into the regular season. Now, Austin Booker will be on IR to start the year. He won't be eligible until after the bye week, so that's going to be a minor setback there. Number two, and it's going to be an important element, what will the players do under Ben Johnson's offense? We saw the starters had their moments in the preseason, but it's still going to take them some time. So, which means is how much are they going to rely on running that football, and especially with DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson, rookie Kyle Manika? How much will they run the football, and how much will they scale the playbook back for Caleb Williams? He's expected to have a big year this year. He's had his struggles here and there. He had his moments, but he's had his struggles. So how much are going to lean into that running game, and how much will they expect Caleb to do between now and the bye week?
Yeah, I think that's going to be like the number one. I think the $1 million question is like, how will Caleb looks? How will that defense looks? I know the defense should be okay, but look, the lack of pass rush, I think that's you wonder if that's going to come back to bite them. So I think this is going to be very interesting to see if they can at least make it more of an effort. So again, it's really all in how this team looks, coming out the gate on Monday, on that couple, next, not this Monday, but next Monday night against the Vikings.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, LaKeena, and Christine hanging out here. Well, Christine, I'll start with you. The Chicago White Sox. I know he's injured right now. Hopefully, he'll come back. But Colson Montgomery has been on fire from your vantage point. Talk to us about Colson Montgomery and some of the other young guys that maybe they get you excited about the future of this team.
Yeah, when we were talking about the rookies that got called up not that long ago, I said that Colson Montgomery is someone that I'm looking forward to seeing play in the big time, play in the big leagues. You can tell just from his first at bat, he was excited to put on the uniform, to be in front of a real MLB crowd, and to be a part of the team. I did see a little bit of that hit that Vargas took as he was trying to get that runner out. I think it was Aaron Judge on base. That was a really not fun collision. And you hope that he's okay. You hope that it is just a wrist contusion. That's what the initial reports were. I know he was supposed to get an MRI today to see how that all shakes up. But that's another star in the making too for the White Sox. Like I was saying a couple weeks ago too, we're finally starting to see these rookies and this clubhouse in the farm system that Jerry just couldn't stop talking about for all these years. And we're finally starting to see the fruits of that labor come to life. And it is exciting to see, what the future has in store for those young White Sox, and to get the fans excited about the team again. It's great to have fresh blood in there for these other kids, not in the majors yet, but someone to look up to when they want to get to that level of play in their career.
Yeah, I think Montgomery and Vargas, that those are kind of like your two sort of like building blocks, if you will, for to get the White Sox, White Sox squad back to kind of like prominence, perhaps maybe compete for the Central at the very least. So, like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see how all this kind of goes. But yeah, I think Montgomery, especially if it keeps, I know he's banged up right now, and I know Vargas is too. But if those two guys can keep hitting the ball consistently like they've been doing, I think they'll maybe probably put Kyle Teal in there too. I mean.
Yeah.
Again, we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what Chris Guest does. Next year, like, will they add a couple of big names? But you never know with Jerry. Jerry doesn't want to. Well, Ishbia. We'll see what Ishbia, just Ishbia. Will he have a say on what personnel to come in for next year? So that's gonna be the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of the White Sox and the Cubs, the schedule for next year was released on Tuesday. Just I won't run down the whole schedule because we're time limited. But opening day next year for everybody in Major League Baseball will be on Thursday, March 26th. Yes, Thursday, March 26th of next year.
Wow.
The 2020. Yeah, the earliest it's ever been. Yeah, I know. Of course, you got the World Baseball Classic, which is a waste of time, kicking off a couple weeks before. But I digress on the World Baseball Classic. But your Chicago White Sox, Christine, will start on the road in Milwaukee against the Brewers. Of course, the following Thursday, April 2nd. They'll host the Toronto Maple Leaf. Not a damn, I'm in hockey mode. They'll host the Toronto Blue Jays on Thursday, April 2nd, assuming that's going to be an afternoon game. The White Sox and Cubs will play 6 times again next year. Yes. And of course, the Cubs will come to the South Side first on May 15th through the 17th of next year. And then, of course, the White Sox will go to Wrigley on August 17th through the 19th for next year. So those are your 6 games against the Cubs. And of course, the promotional schedule will come out in January, February. So we'll have that for you once those details come about. And of course, for the Chicago Cubs, they'll open up the season at home, LaKeena, on March 26th against the Washington Nationals. The New York Mets.
March 26th being the opener for the schedule. Yeah, especially once you may after next season you may not have baseball for a little bit because of the labor issues. So that's a little bit that's kind of a wild card here. But yeah, a nice schedule. But like I said, the early start. Yeah, yikes.
At least the White Sox don't have their home opener on April Fool's Day. Then it would be the real joke.
That is very true. Very true. Now, keeping up with the sports media news, just as I can see sports on Sports Chicago, LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, and KRXB's Christine Manika. This news came across the wires yesterday. Of course, Andrew Marchand from The Athletic. He was the first to report this, but Doris Burke has been demoted from doing the NBA Finals, and they promoted Tim Legler. He'll be paired with Mike Breen and Richard Jefferson starting this season coming up, especially with the new TV deal starts. So, we want to talk about this. So, Christine, I'll start with you. What do you think about this news? Yes, I know we talked about it a little bit in our group chat.
It's shocking that they demoted such a veteran reporter, staple for the NBA Finals, and I don't know what that means on their part or maybe on her part. Maybe she wanted to take a step back a little bit because she's been in the business for a long time and getting a little bit older. Maybe this is the network's decision of going in a different direction. I don't know. But it is surprising to see a veteran get demoted like that for someone with such a pedigree like her. So yeah, very surprising.
Yeah, we talked about this before, LaKeena. She was thrown in late in the game. She did a heck of a job last year, but I think they're trying to catch up with their new TV partners, going in a different direction in terms of having a new broadcast team. I know they brought in Tim Legler to replace her, but as Christine mentioned, Doris Burke has been in the game for a long time. The players like her, the coaches like her, so I think ESPN is chasing its own tail, and they're not going to be like what TNT used to be. We see what NBC is doing. We see what Amazon Prime is doing with their broadcasting teams. I think ESPN is trying to catch up, but I think it's going to be a little bit too. I think it's a little bit too late.
Well, yeah, especially since I guess Charles Barkley. Somebody asked him about this idea of NBA that they may not be back until after the new year. So, and they're not even. They haven't even gotten like a program how they're going to do it. So, ESPN is already behind the 8 ball here when it comes inside the NBA too. So. Yeah, this is kind of interesting to see what happens, but the tough breakdown. They did resign Burke to a new contract, so she is staying around, but she'll just be on the number 2 NBA broadcasting squad. So it might be, like I said, they might have just like stepped on their own self here with this. I guess they listened to a lot of social media, all the critiques that she got more than anything else. But but look, Lego's been doing this a long time too, so he'll be just fine. And I think that's gonna be a nice team with him and Breen and Jefferson. So they should be okay.
Yeah. You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, LaKeena, and Christine are here with you. We still have a couple minutes left before we say goodbye for the long extended Labor Day weekend. Christine, I'll start with you. US Open tennis. We'll focus in on the women's side. There was controversy yesterday. We heard arguments from both sides. Players getting disrespected. And as LaKeena said, as I always say, social media is just a microcosm of what's going on. You can take it with a grain of salt. What's your thoughts about all this?
I'm having a lot of fun watching the U.S. Open, to be honest with you. I love seeing Venus Williams back on the court in doubles when she wasn't sure that she was going to do it again after her heartbreaking loss in her singles tournament. But Fernandez and her, they make a pretty good team. They complement each other well. The height difference is kind of funny to me to see that. But, with Fernandez playing with Venus Williams, someone that she grew up with and her own icon, it's got to be a trip for her. And what an experience to be able to play with such a legend like Venus Williams. So I'm very excited to see that. I know Ben Shelton's game is going on right now. We've been glancing at that here and there. And with Taylor Townsend and all that drama, could it be because someone couldn't take the loss and, be a better sport about it? Yes, it's possible. Is it possible that there is a rule in tennis where you can't start at the net right away to do your warm up? Yeah, there probably is. I think there is actually. I'm not really sure. I haven't really looked into the rules for tennis that much, but it's an ego thing. It's definitely someone that didn't really think that she was going to lose, but then ended up losing. So yeah, it's interesting. And who knows what happened off the court? Who knows what happened, over social media and whatnot prior to that match? So it's anybody's guess. But initially, the reports were Taylor Townsend just started at the net during her warm up, when that's not respectful for in the tennis community.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, like, when people, the other player told her she had no class and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it just seems like a little bit kind of petty and stupid, but you don't let that bother you. And, and I think like somebody said on Twitter, like, look, players have been doing this type of thing and having beef since the 70s. So we've seen these kind of things happening before between players. So this isn't new. It's just that now you got social media, you got like 50 million cameras all over the place.
Right.
So, it just isn't really. I know people want to make it racial and such, but I don't think that was the case either. I think it was just like bad sportsmanship on her part, that she wagged her finger at her like she was a child. I didn't like that, so it was just like, come on, be like, win and lose with class. That's always been my thing. So keep your hands to yourself, as our buddy Damon Sproles always says.
And even like Taylor Townsend, she said nothing about it being racial. Like, she has never said during the conversations with the media that she thinks that this is racially driven. It's just someone being a bad loser. That's it.
All right, and Sid disappeared for a second. I said, well, I'm sure he'll be back here in a little bit here. But yeah, so like I said, I know Coco Gauff won her match. She met with Simone Biles last night too, after winning her match. So that was a really cool moment to see. And also, you saw how tiny Simone is. That's a Coco Gauff. She's like, go ahead.
No, the funny thing is, I thought they already met at the Olympics when they're like, "Oh yeah, nice to meet you." It's like, weren't you on the same team and you were at the village together?
Well, no, I think they might have said. I think they might have stayed at different parts of the village, and I think it might. I think that the tennis. I think that's where she played tennis. I think where the gymnastics part was. I think that kind of. I think they're over there. It was kind of like all like pretty farther apart. I think they were like outside of. I think they were outside of the city of Paris. So that's probably why they didn't really see each other that much.
Well,
so I think they wanted. I think Coco wanted to connect, but I guess their schedule and stuff, it just didn't match.
Well, and yeah, it makes sense too because Coco was one of the flag bearers during the
Yeah.
Olympics with LeBron, and Simone opted out of doing the whole opening ceremonies just to
Yes.
get ready for it. So that would be the only time I would think that they would really have a chance to connect. But yeah, that makes sense.
Sid, are you back with us? There you go.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys hear me. My connection's going in and out. I don't know what you guys were
We can
talking
hear
about for the
you.
last couple of minutes. It kicked me out again.
Mm.
we were talking about the whole Taylor Townsend and that whole thing that happened a couple of nights ago. Sid, can you hear us?
Sid?
I don't think he can hear us. Uh-oh, I think it's. Then I think he says he's having trouble with his Wi-Fi the last few. I know the last couple of shows he's had problems with his Wi-Fi. So
Oh
but
shoot.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You gotta love technology. But yeah, I think look, the Americans are doing pretty well so far. So again, we'll see what they do, what they can do. I know Shell's playing right now as we speak. So yeah, but like I said, the U.S. Open, you can watch the coverage on all the rest of the coverage on ESPN, ESPN2, and the ESPN Family Network. So it's all right there now. The Ryder Cup, of course, they've announced. Well, the U.S. has announced their squad, and you know what? First off, Tommy Fleetwood win the Tour Championship after
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, what do you think about that? I know we talked about it a little bit. I know earlier this week.
We love Tommy. We love Tommy
Yeah.
Fleetwood. I think he's can I say he's the international sweetheart, hon?
Yes.
Tommy Fleetwood?
Yes, he is. He is. He definitely
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, oh yes, that's what he said. Yes, you can call him the international sweetheart. He really is. I mean, what a 164 starts and finally a win. That is amazing for him, and to finally get that taste of victory to be in the winner's circle, well deserved. He was, he had the opportunity so many times the last couple of weeks to bring it home and win it all, but this was the right time. This was his moment for sure. So I'm very excited for Tommy.
And in a few weeks, you're gonna be seeing them at Bethpage playing the Ryder Cup. Now, the European team hasn't affiliated not their squad yet, but the U.S. has.
Yeah.
Real quick. I will call out the names here. You got, of course, you got Scotty Scheffler, J.J. Spawn, Xander Schauffele. You got Henley, you got English, DeChambeau, Tom. Okay, those are your top AQs, and then you got the captain's space. You got Thomas, Morikawa, Griffin, Young, Cantley, and Burns. So, any surprises here with some of those captain's
Cantley.
picks? Oh,
Cantley,
Cantley, yeah.
100%. Yeah, we both said that we didn't think that was necessarily the right pick. We're also not a fan of Morikawa.
Yeah.
Just because I think Keegan should have picked himself. I understand his reasoning behind it, and saying how it wouldn't feel like it was someone that picked him, but he was picking himself. He just thought about it in a personal sense, and I think it just gets these guys excited more to win it for Keegan because this is something that he's worked his entire life for. This is everything that he's wanted is to be a part of the Ryder Cup. So they want to win it for him, especially Sam Burns. If you've watched that call that Keegan
Mm-hmm.
made to Sam Burns saying that I'm
Yeah.
picking you, it sums everything up. Definitely, there's no more deserving of the captain position than Keegan Bradley, and he definitely showed that during the season this year. Again, I wish that he would have picked himself, but I can respect his personal feelings behind it too.
Yeah, I think he. Well, we'll see. I know he had a great finish at the Tour Championship and the FedEx Cup, so he's finished in the top 12. So yeah, I'm a little. But yeah, I mean that's just not the guy he is. So now Europe, of course, you got Luke Donald back at the helm there, captaining Europe's team. Of course, you got Rory, Robert McIntyre, Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Rasmus Hegar, and Tyrell Hatton. Now he will announce. I'm talking about Don will announce his captain's picks on Labor Day, so we will have a chance to talk about that and when it happens. So, who do you think should be the captain's picks for the European side?
I can see him picking Tom Kim, global superstar Tom Kim. I can also seeing him pick Mingwoo Lee. I think Sepp Straka would be in that category. Or no, is he not Sepp Straka? Oh, he's from Australia. Yeah, I can see him.
Yeah, he's from Australia. Yeah, he can't pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
I'm surprised you haven't said your guy Victor Hovland.
Oh yeah, Victor. How can I forget Victor? I want Victor. Oh, Chris is looking at me going, Victor, no. The Ryder Cup, picking for the European side.
Yeah, the Ryder Cup.
Oh, who? I guess we can't pick Tom Kim or Minwoo Lee because they're both from Korea. Shoot.
Yeah, they're both Koreans. Yeah, they're both Koreans. Shoot. Yeah, so yeah. Whoops.
Well, definitely Victor then. Pick Victor.
Well, okay. All right. Now we got Sid back at the helm here. All right, Sid. What's up? Sid, I think we lost Sid's signal again. I think we. Sid, hello. I think I don't know if he can't hear us or something. I see him moving.
Yeah.
Gotta love live. We're doing this live, folks, as you can see. I don't think he can hear us.
No, I don't think so either.
Sid, go, come back. Try to refresh and come back again. Yeah, because this is heck of a time for this to happen. I guess near the end of the show here, but yeah. So anything else?
Hello, am I being kidnapped? I want to have a wrestling match with my Wi-Fi.
Oh gosh! All right. Well, we hear you. Can you hear it? Can you hear us though? I mean, we can hear you, but can you hear us? I don't think he can.
I don't think so.
All right, hold on. Let me tell him to refresh real quick. I told him I do a refresh real quick, like I said, because we can't. I told we can't hear you, so we can't. Yeah, I was like,
but we can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Yeah, I'll say you can't hear us. Yeah, no, it's buffering. Oh, you can't hear. Okay, let's try. We'll try one more time. Yeah, the WNBA, of course, they're starting to wrap up their regular season coming up. I know. Well, Angel Reese has been one of the few bright spots of that Chicago Sky squad this year. So, what's been your kind of like synopsis of all that?
I would say that in Carduso, like for the Sky too, making her debut finally and showing the Sky fans what she can do. So I think that makes Chicago happy. There's a lot of bright spots there, a lot of young talent to work on. Didn't really help a new coach after, Angel Reese just got on the team and already having a couple of different coaches within that time frame. So hopefully they can start a steady system going forward into the coming year.
Yeah, gonna be very interesting. And I think they've got a game tomorrow. I gotta look at their schedule real quick. I think they got a game tomorrow. Hold on, let me see here. They do. They face Seattle, the Seattle Storm in Seattle is going to be at 8:00. No television, but you can listen to. No, you can't listen to it, but yeah, I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. So it's all right there for you as they get ready to finish up their season. I'm trying to wait a little bit before we got to disperse here. I know Sid's having trouble with his Wi-Fi, but yeah. So I don't know what's happening here, but anyway, you can follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, executors on the IG. Chrissy, where can people follow you?
They can follow me at @Manika_KXRB on Twitter.
All right, you can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fuzz. I think they're on tomorrow, and so much more. You can catch replays, all the great content right here on Sports Chicago's YouTube channels. We also want to thank our buddy Nick King from Arizona Family CBS 5 in Arizona for joining us, popping in once again to talk Cardinals, NFC West, and Arizona sports, both college and pro. And so we're off on Monday. So, So enjoy the great Labor Day weekend, and remember what this day is really about. So, let's try one more time to get Sid to come on with us. I'll give him a second to for him to pop in here. You gotta love the Wi-Fi here, folks. So let's give Sid like another chance here, because if not, we may have to just go ahead, just disperse, because it's getting a little late. But all right, here we go. Let's try one more time. All right, Sid, Sid, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Can you hear?
1,
2, 1.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, but yeah, can you hear us? That's the thing. Can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah, I think that's the question. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I don't know if it's his headphones. It might be the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, this is going bad. Yeah, this is going bad, folks.
Yeah, sorry about that, Sid. Yeah, it might be your headphones too. So yeah, that might be it. Because we can see you and such. We can hear you. I don't think you can hear us. It might be your headphones, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to apologize to our audience here. So yours truly is going to say goodbye. I know we're up against it, but yours truly is going to say goodbye. Christine, thank you very much for joining us. We can't wait to have you next week as NFL season begins with our weekly NFL picks. And happy early 5-year anniversary for joining us on the program for all these years. So we really thank you for your support.
Yeah, of course, anytime, guys.
All right, and we're gonna yeah, and thank you, Christine, because we're definitely gonna have something, because we had a tie. You and I tied last season, but we didn't have a tiebreaker, so we gotta think of something to kind of like in case that happens again this year. So can't wait to do our picks with you once again this year, and we'll start with, of course, with week 1. So Friday, So you're up for next Friday, Christine?
Yes.
All right, cool. So for Sid and Christine, I'm LaKeena. Enjoy all the college football, the baseball, WNBA, and so much more. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys. Remember, we're off on Monday, so we'll see you guys next Friday.
Holla!